Halloween 2 would literally pick up right where the original left off, but that would not prevent it from subjecting the story to some major changes, like some lore and motivation for the mysterious masked antagonist. Police find the word Samhain, or as Loomis says it,
Samhain,
written on a chalkboard at the elementary school. The significance is only briefly explained by Michael's psychiatrist, Dr. Loomis. He mentions that it's a Celtic word meaning Lord of the Dead, that the Festival of Samhain signified the end of summer. But the meaning and connection to Michael Myers and the overall message of Halloween 2 goes much deeper than that. It actually refers to a Gaelic festival marking the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the darker half of the year. In the Northern Hemisphere, it is observed starting on the evening of October 31st and ending on the evening of November 1st, much like Michael's rampage in this movie. It begins on Halloween night and carries over into the first day of November. Early literature says that Samhain was celebrated with the opening of ancient burial mounds, which were seen as portals to the other world, which may have been opened with bonfires and sacrifices. Maybe Myers' defeat at the end of the movie is symbolic for its connection to these Samhain festivals. It is believed that over time, Samhain merged with other cultural celebrations, eventually becoming Halloween as we know it today. So it may come as no surprise that this word may be the key to understanding everything else in the undertones of the original Halloween sequel. For my entire analysis, stick around to the end of this video. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp. 6 gunshots would not be enough to keep Michael Myers down, just as dozens of angry mothers would not be enough to stop me from making another episode of Things You Missed. Once again, I'm joined by YouTube's resident Halloween expert, Jimmy Champagne, or as Dr. Loomis would pronounce it, Jimmy Samhain.
If that's how he says it, I don't even want to imagine how he'd spell it.
Last time, I broke down the psychosexual subtext of the 1978 original. So in this episode, I'll introspect the 1981 follow-up, Halloween 2, the first of many attempts to create a direct sequel.
Writer-director John Carpenter initially wasn't interested in continuing the story of Michael Myers, but then he said, screw it, I do like money, so he returned to produce and write the screenplay. Oh, and he also decided to collaborate on the score. So directing duties would initially fall on Rick Rosenthal, but Carpenter didn't like what he came up with, so he reshot some scenes, and then he still didn't like the finished product.
Listen, Jimmy, I'm not gonna get into the drama, but I am going to get into the things you missed. The opening of this film takes us back to that fateful Halloween night in 1978, and we fade in backed by the song Mr. Sandman by the Chordettes. We hear the lyrics, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. This is the first of many references in this movie to the idea of dreams and the unconscious mind. Mr. Sandman is a myth from European folklore and serves as a stand-in for another mythological man, the Boogeyman, an alias that is commonly used to refer to Michael Myers in the first movie.
What's the Boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
The lyric specifically says, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Throughout the movie, Laurie is terrified of going to sleep, perhaps because some part of her subconscious mind knows that her dreams are where she'll see her brother and nemesis, Michael Myers. We do see a glimpse of one of those dreams when she dozes off at one point at the hospital, though it's unclear if she made the connection about who this mysterious boy actually is. But one way or another, she seems terrified of the idea of seeing the backs of her eyelids ever since her encounter with him. It's the first thing she tells the ambulance EMT, and she reiterates it for the doctor.
No, don't put me to sleep.
And there's even a deleted scene where she uses sheer willpower to keep herself awake.
She awake?
Dr. Mixter gave her a double bullet. She can keep her eyes open. She's made out of steel.
She actually falls asleep, eyes open, when the medication fully kicks in, a testament to just how much she wanted to avoid seeing that dream at all costs. The beginning of the movie takes us back to the final 5 minutes of the original, with a couple of shots giving us a new perspective on those events.
In a way, this was a taste of things to come. Rick Rosenthal would go to extreme lengths to shoot this movie in the same style as John Carpenter's Halloween, and what better warm-up exercise is there than adding shots to an already existing scene? This is followed by a long POV shot of Michael Myers spying on the neighborhood, which is of course a direct callback to the intro shot of the original Halloween where we see the world through young Michael Myers' eyes. Both scenes feature him looking through windows, sneaking inside, and then stealing a knife, all while no one seems to notice that he's there. Both scenes are also important from a filmmaking standpoint because one takes are notoriously expensive and challenging to get right. So a little movie like Halloween 2 nailing it as hard as it does really helped it to stand out from the growing pool of competitors, and that pool was growing extremely quickly.
Michael looks in on Mr. and Mrs. Elrod's house.
No, not that Mrs. Elrod.
Mr. Elrod is watching Dr. Dementia's horror movie marathon, a continuation of what Lindsay Wallace and Tommy Doyle were seen watching in the first one. We continually see this on TVs throughout the night, whether it's George Romero's Night of the Living Dead or the 1955 horror film Dementia, a movie involving a woman caught in a nightmare cycle that deals with the horror of the subconscious, kind of like how Laurie feels that she's trapped in an inescapable nightmare with Michael, which affects her so badly she's mortified at the idea of going to sleep.
Now, back to Dementia.
When I covered the original movie, one symbol that I pointed out time and time again was the use of bed sheets. We were always seeing Michael through these sheets, and I interpreted that as part of this metaphor for his tendency to go after these teens that were trying to go to bed with one another. There is one hookup couple that Michael takes out in Halloween 2, which may be the most brutal scene in the whole franchise, but the main theme of this film, if I had to pick just one thing, is the idea that Michael is this never-ending bad dream. In that sense, the bedsheet motif still works, now being given a different meaning. It's associated with the dream where Laurie discovers that she's related to Michael, an idea that festers in her subconscious, but her conscious mind doesn't want to face.
One constant in nearly all of John Carpenter's projects from the time is the use of the actress Nancy Loomis. She's the woman who played Annie in the original Halloween, but her death in that movie doesn't stop her from appearing a few times in the sequel. I'd say chances are pretty slim you didn't miss when Annie's body was brought out of the house and identified by her father, but you probably didn't notice that she plays Sally, the girl on the other end of the phone telling her friend about what's going on in Haddonfield.
Didn't you hear?
Hear about what?
Some girl got killed in Haddonfield. It's on the radio.
While there are still plenty of Halloween 1 callbacks to discuss, there's also a potential look at the future of the franchise in the form of one seemingly random side character. Do you find that you're not happy or something is blocking you from reaching your maximum potential in life? It's time for you to get some help. Some BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a professional therapy service securely operated online. No more going into the office in person, no more sitting on the couch like this, which is what I assume happens at these things. You'll connect to a worldwide network of over 20,000 therapists who are guaranteed to be licensed professionals. You can easily log into your account anytime to send a message to your therapist, and you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. You can also schedule your weekly session via phone call or video call. That means you're going to be saving money on gas, and sessions are already more affordable than your traditional therapy with the couch. Imagine if Michael Myers used BetterHelp, how much better things might have gone. I guarantee your BetterHelp doctor will not try to shoot you 6 times.
And fired 6 shots into me, just got up and walked away.
Visit betterhelp.com/CZsWorld, that's BetterHelp, and join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. As a CZsWorld viewer, you get 10% off your first month. Just click the link in the description and betterhelp.com/CZsWorld. Shortly before Laurie's ambulance arrives at the hospital, we see a mother taking her swashbuckling son into the emergency room. He's bleeding profusely from the mouth, and when he drops his towel, we see why. A huge razor blade is jammed into his gums. This calls back to an urban legend about tempered Halloween candy. I remember when I was a kid, my parents would always have to inspect my trick-or-treating haul to look out for any wrappers that might have been altered in fear of a malicious neighbor possibly poisoning or putting foreign objects into the candy. That's the implication here. Michael Myers is not the only evil in Haddonfield. Longtime Halloween fans know that Michael wasn't intended to be a recurring character. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill planned to make it an anthology series about various scary stories all taking place on Halloween nights. That's why Halloween 3 has almost no relation to the first 2 movies. This pirate costume kid almost seems to foreshadow Halloween 3, which, spoiler alert, features an evil company's plot to harm trick-or-treaters. With so much of this movie trying to match what happened in the past, this one character looks towards Halloween's future. Soon after, we're introduced to Karen, who is on her way out of a Halloween party. In true Karen fashion, she has a little bit of a public freakout. Roll it.
I'm never going to another Halloween party as long as I live, especially not at Stevie Mathis' house.
This is our first crew reference Easter egg, because Steve Mathis is the electrician on this movie's credits. The only other one that I can say definitely exists is in the staff locker room at the hospital, where one of the lockers is labeled Cummings, which has got to be a self-nod by set decorator Peg Cummings.
In order for director Rick Rosenthal to fully immerse us in the world of Halloween, there are many specific callbacks to specific moments within the first Halloween movie. Like how Karen suggests her friend gets a ride home from a Halloween party from a guy named Eddie Lee, to which she responds,
He's in Russellville.
You might also remember that the Haddonfield graveskeeper mentions a town called Russellville in the first movie.
I remember over in Russellville, old Charlie Bowen, about 15 years ago.
When looking at the news coverage of the murders on Orange Grove Avenue, one of the EMTs, Bud, makes this comparison.
It looks like a goddamn homecoming.
It's a really interesting choice of words because one of the main plot points in the original Halloween regarded Laurie and who she would choose to go to the homecoming dance with.
Well, you could ask Dick Baxter, he'd go out with you.
I'd rather go with Ben Tramer.
Ben Tramer also makes an appearance in Halloween 2, or at least it's heavily implied that the masked kid who gets slammed by a police car was Tramer.
Yeah, I'm worried about Bennett Tramer. He isn't home yet. Yeah, and he left the party at 10.
You're just gonna brush past the fact that the cop who just hit Ben Tramer going 50 miles per hour gets out of his car and says, "I didn't even see him"? Like, you can't even give him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
That part is pretty funny if you're looking out for it. And I just love how the cop basically goes out of his way to hit the kid. His body is totally burned up, but the forensic dentist also seems to think that the victim is probably around Tramer's age. On a night that feels like it can't get any worse for Laurie Strode, Michael Myers is indirectly responsible for the death of her biggest crush. Halloween has become the nightmare that she can't wake up from. Then there's the security guy, Garrett. When we first meet him, he's reading a newspaper. Let's zoom in on the headline here. A dead ex-con with 6 bullets in him will float. This probably refers to the lung float test, an autopsy procedure that can help pathologists determine the true cause of death. But what I'm more interested in here is 6 bullets. As you probably know if you've seen the movie, Dr. Loomis loaded Michael with 6 bullets at the conclusion of Halloween in the Doyle house. He proceeds to bring this up whenever possible.
Tell the sheriff I shot him. I shot him 6 times. I shot him 6 times.
And fired 6 shots into me.
Couldn't have shot him 6 times.
You think I'm lying, Sheriff?
Speaking of Loomis, there's also a scene where he and the police discover that Michael broke into the elementary school. That's where they discover the Samhain graffiti that I mentioned earlier. When they enter the classroom, they come across a childlike drawing of a family of 4 with a knife stuck into the sister. Obviously, we're led to believe that this represents Judith, the sister that Michael stabbed in the opening of the first movie, but we later find out in the infamous twist that Laurie is Michael's other sister, and this drawing shows that's the reason he's coming after her. If you look closely, you'll see what appears to be another figure laying in the grass colored in red. I'm guessing that's supposed to be Judith, and this is Laurie who Michael is threatening with the knife. The bigger question I have is, who drew this? Have Michael's art skills not progressed since age 6 due to his incarceration in the sanitarium? Are we supposed to believe that he made this drawing in kindergarten and it's just been filed away at the school somewhere ever since? Or maybe it's just another kid's drawing that he repurposed to send his own message?
Just don't even think about it. Things will be better for you, I promise.
To be honest, I have a lot of questions about this movie. Like, how did the media find out about the babysitter murders before the sheriff of the town? Why does Loomis put his face so close to Laurie when he's asking if she's okay?
Sorry I left you. Are you all right?
That's so weird. And why are there no holes in Michael's mask after Laurie shoots him in the face? Are we supposed to believe that both of those shots went perfectly into the eye holes? Michael is 21 years old in this movie. It's even called out by Dr. Loomis at one point. So why do the credits say Michael Myers age 23? They actually made the same mistake in the first movie. But if you do the math, he is 21. Not sure how that happens. Why does Michael's mask look so funny from a low angle? Was this entire thing just an elaborate ruse by Jimmy to get a lap dance from Laurie Strode?
Men, you can't live with them, you can't live without them.
Yeah, I don't think that's how the saying goes. Help her out, Lloyd.
Women, can't live with them, can't live without them.
Words of wisdom. The other question I've always had about this movie comes up in the third act when Loomis, Marion Chambers, and the state marshal show up at the hospital, not realizing that Laurie is injured in the parking lot. I always found it pointless how she waits until after they've gone inside to scream for help, but in analyzing this movie, the scene fits in with the bad dream theme that's been established. Not being able to find your voice totally sounds like something that would happen in a nightmare. I can even remember having dreams like that as a kid and then waking up to find myself mouthing the words with a dry throat. I think the line that ties this movie's themes together the best comes when Loomis explains the rituals of Samhain.
In order to appease the gods, the Druid priests held fire rituals. Prisoners of war, criminals, the insane, animals were burned alive in baskets.
It is interesting that when he brings up rituals, he specifically mentions burning alive, because as we all know, that's Michael Myers' fate in this movie, at least for now. And that iconic shot of Michael Myers burning might be yet another direct reference to the Thing from Another World, which was referenced very heavily in the first Halloween, which was again a teaser for what John Carpenter would go on to work on.
By observing the way they died, the Druids believed they could see omens of the future. 2,000 years later, we've come no further. Samhain isn't evil spirits. It isn't goblins, ghosts, or witches. It's the unconscious mind. We're all afraid of the dark inside ourselves.
We're all afraid of the dark inside of ourselves. The idea that I've come back to throughout this entire video, the idea that Laurie knows in her subconscious that Michael Myers is her brother, is the terrifying reality of this Halloween night. A reality that makes even evil spirits, goblins, ghosts, and witches seem tame by comparison. The idea is hammered home by the final scene, bringing the story full circle. Laurie is right back where she started, moving on to yet another hospital. The ambulance disappears into what looks like a foggy dreamscape. The news station, WWAR, who we heard the initial reports from about Michael Myers, is now on the scene getting coverage of his latest sets of victims. Michael lies face down on the ground, seemingly defeated once more. And the song that takes us into the end credits is none other than the song we heard when this nightmare began, Mr. Sandman, Bring Me a Dream. This ending was meant to be the death of Michael Myers, but as we now know, the character was just too profitable to stay dead. However, the next Halloween movie focuses on a completely different story, earning it the title of Black Sheep of the Halloween franchise. Another big thanks to Jimmy Champagne for breaking down the sequel with me.
Thanks again for having me on, Zach. I usually talk about new news related to the Halloween franchise, so it's always nice to go back and look at where it started.
I'd like to tell you to go subscribe to his channel, but legally I'm just not allowed to, but I think just between you and me, you know what to do. So join us in the next episode of Things You Missed as the season rolls over and we discuss Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Remember to subscribe to CZsWorld for new horrors every week, ring that death bell for all notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Assuming we both survive.
Samhain.